I was explaining to people earlier my own family background. Obviously, my mother was from Donegal in Ireland, but even though living in the Republic, they'd been a Protestant family, and I'd grown up with the Troubles being very much part of my youth and my own personal history. So I was determined for all sorts of reasons to try to do things. And then actually as leader of the opposition, I had met Bertie Ahern, who at that time, I think Bertie, first time I met you weren't the Taoiseach. And I also kind of felt when I had that conversation with Bertie, there was something I felt that could be done. There was we were coming up to the end of the 20th century, or a new millennium. There was a new generation taking charge in various places. Obviously, we were huge fans of what President Clinton and yourself were doing in the US. Everything kind of aligned. And so, and maybe this was just also the fact that we were new in government and hadn't had time to become cynical. So we just thought, now let's give this a go. And I remember discussing it with one of my deputy prime minister, John Prescott, who said to me, I don't know why you're doing this. He said, they absolutely hate each other over there, you know. And I said no, I'm going to give it a go. And so we did. Yeah, that's, I felt, and I suppose there always is this moment in time when things seem to come together. And so at least I thought it was worth giving it the best shot.
So I felt, listen, this was worth it. And Tony had made it very clear he was going to give this a real crack. His first speech, even though he, was huge celebrations coming in as the Labour Prime Minister, huge crowds. And the first thing he did was come to Northern Ireland. So, I mean, he couldn't show more serious intent than that. He went.
I got interested in this when I came to Oxford in 1968. And the Trouble started in 69. But I had some people working with me and people I'd gotten to know who were part of the Irish community in New York who actually thought I should agree to appoint a special envoy, which then was heresy. That's before there were any peace talks for George Mitchell to mediate. And I got there late one night. Everybody else who was trying to beat me had already put in their best shot. And they asked, and I made up my mind. I said, all right, I'm not going to bring this up, but if they ask, I'm going to tell them the truth. Yes, I will appoint a special envoy. And they told me, I said, you have no idea how hard this is going to be for you to keep this commitment. People will think you're insane. The State Department had operated for decades under a theory that our relationship with the UK was so important we couldn't mess it up. Even President Kennedy in his heralded visit to Ireland did not go to the North and did not talk about it. And, this was one of those things that wasn't done. Well, I thought it was crazy to deny such a large problem's existence and to take a pass when we had the biggest Irish diaspora. The thing that I've felt always was the process of which all the parties had proceeded involved so much time, so much effort, and was done with so much respect for people across the political spectrum that I thought in the end people wouldn't walk away. And it's a great tribute to all of them. Also, there are people we haven't mentioned, Mary McAleese and Michael here. I think the presidency of Ireland, I'm glad Ireland has a symbolic president who can bring people together. And it's a metaphor that they had a president from Northern Ireland. It was great.